Welcome, friends. Tonight's a very exciting night for the town of Dartmouth. This evening, we are going to hear some awesome news about the Dartmouth Historical and Art Society. There'll be some presentations tonight. Your host for most of this evening will be Dr. Robert E. Harding, and he's the retired CFO of a local manufacturing company. He's also a retired professor from UMass Dartmouth, so I'd like to recognize Bob Harding, as I call him, and come on up, Bob, please.
Thank you very much, Cindy. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here this evening to share some really good news with you. That is the work of a group of hardworking people that have been dedicated to the history of this town. We're going to work with some slides, and I'm going to be operating the slides from here. So bear with me a little bit. It's a little bit new, but this, our moderator, of course, was Cindy Marlin. We're going to be talking for 20 minutes, and then we'll have a brief question and answer period. And after that, we'll have a few photographs and some time for collecting our thoughts. We, first of all, want to be very sure that we express our grateful thanks to Cindy Marland and the Dartmouth Community Television crew for making this opportunity available and for giving us this chance to get an audience on Dartmouth TV, community TV. I also want to make sure that I recognize the fact that the team, the steering committee of our special project team, Sally Aldrich, Richard Gifford, Marion Ryle, and Dan Socia, have done most of the work that we've been talking about, and we'll have a lot more work as we go forward. First, I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about the town and the organization called DHAS, because I don't want to hold back the good news too long, but I do want to give you a little orientation. The town of Dartmouth, of course, we could spend hours talking about the history of the town of Dartmouth. We don't have hours. We're going to talk about the fact that it's a coastal town with a very special, unique history. We began with the early days when we met Native Americans through the period of integration. In the early days, we were a place where Quakers and others who were not Orthodox religiously found a place to come to get away from persecution in other places around the area. We had a very special kind of land distribution. We had a set of proprietors, and the land management is something very special in our history. Of course, everyone knows about whaling. Fewer people know about salt making. And of course, we went through periods of slavery and helping with the Underground Railroad. We have special stories to tell in helping in those days, and much, much more, which we can't cover tonight. Well, why are we here? Well, we're here because we have some really good news to share. Usually, good news is related with religion, the gospel. Good news. This is good news of history. And we're here to proclaim 4 very newsworthy and significant events that are worth broadcasting to the locals and to the world because they have significance in so many areas. I'm going to turn this wheel the right way, of course. Now, in those early days of Dartmouth, we became a haven for nonconformists, those who weren't welcomed in these Orthodox theocratic colonies. these Quakers came to Dartmouth because Dartmouth in those days was kind of on the frontier of the colony, and it wasn't very heavily populated. But people also came from Portsmouth, Rhode Island, where Portsmouth had been settled earlier, and land had been getting crowded, and there were land grants available in Dartmouth. So people also came from the west of the town and from the east of the town. In Sandwich, there was a lot of persecution, and the Quakers got away from Sandwich to come here for refuge. In Longshot, a very large proportion of the settlers of this town in those early days were in fact members of the Society of Friends, often called Quakers. Over time, the town of Dartmouth, the old town of Dartmouth, which was much bigger in the beginning, was subdivided into 5 separate towns, one of which is a city. Of course, everybody knows, everybody who's here knows, but some who are watching may not know that the towns of Dartmouth, Westport, Fairhaven, Acushnet, and New Bedford were subdivided. And of course, the geography looks like this. The fact is that they didn't all get subdivided at one time, starting in 1787, and they progressed until 1860, when Acushnet was the last one. Let's talk about the society. The Dartmouth Historical and Arts Society was founded in 2011, was organized in 2011, and it's a nonprofit, and we have our headquarters, of course, in Dartmouth, in Russell's Mills, the old Russell's Mills Schoolhouse. And our mission is to support, promote, preserve, and disseminate or teach the historic and cultural diversity of Dartmouth, Mass. In executing this mission, we've created a digital library with very strong emphasis on providing primary records, the original records, to help historians get the truth as they collect facts about the history of the town. For genealogists especially, and historians, and what I call seriously curious clients. There are lots of people who are pretty serious about genealogy and history, and they spend hours and hours researching their families and other people's families. That digital library, by the way, is on our website, which is dartmouthhas.org, and you'll find it's a very rich and powerful website and gets richer by the day. Now, some of the records that we have are not anywhere else found. You can't get them anywhere else. And some of them are available in other places, and they're so important to Dartmouth researchers that we make them available on our website, at least links to them. A thorough tour of this very rich and loaded website can be found if you go to our website and go to the portal of the website called Collections. And in that portal, you will find a full PowerPoint presentation in great depth and detail about our website. And it's something we present occasionally here and there, and we're proud of the work that we've done. Dan Socia is our webmaster and has done a fantastic job with this website. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of time to do a very quick overview. It's very brief because I really want to get to the good news, but I want to keep you in suspense for a little while. we're going to just do highlights. The home page of the website welcomes the viewer, and among other things, has on the home page, has a picture show that changes as you watch it, and provides interesting old photographs of Dartmouth and events that we've had and so on. Now, there on that front home page, there are what we call portals. Portal is a place where you can enter to another section of the web page. And as we move along here, I'll show you what they look like. I did bring a little thing here. The portals are right up here. And if you put your clicker on one of those portals, you will go into another place on the website which has something indicated by those portals. Now, those portals, of course, include the home page itself, a contents page, an events page, an about page, a contact page, and a, what is that? Quaker Records page. I can't read it, and I don't remember it. What is it then? Might be on the next slide.
I think it's participation.
Participate page. And there is another portal, which is the other portal has to do with the Quaker project that we're working on. The four newsworthy and significant announcements, starting with number one. The first amount of good news is today is the formal kickoff of this major Quaker Records transcription project. And this kickoff is a very important event to us. And I would like to take a few minutes to talk about the Smith Neck Friends meeting, which is really the Dartmouth monthly meeting. And originally they met in the Apponeganset Meeting House that's down there on Russell's Mills Road. And that's a replacement building for an older building. And just out of sake of knowing a little bit of history, Quakers started coming to Dartmouth in 1664 when there was a time of great persecution, when Quakers were being hanged on Boston Common, being driven out of Boston, being harassed in Sandwich, Mass. Their cattle were being taken, and they were generally not acceptable to the Orthodox believers in these other colonies, who, unfortunately, the reason for coming to America was for religious freedom, and then they didn't allow it very well when they got here. But that's part of history. The Quakers who came to Dartmouth stood up for separation of church and state, and some of them were imprisoned because of their stand against fighting in wars and collecting taxes or paying taxes for the support of the Orthodox ministers, so-called ministerial tax. And for those reasons, they were early in affecting some great principles of American democracy that really started in Massachusetts and started very much in the Quaker part of Massachusetts. This is, that first slide was a picture of the outside of the Apponeganset Meeting House, where the Dartmouth monthly meeting first began. And this is the inside of the Smith Neck Meeting House, where they now meet on a regular basis. And where a friend of mine used to attend, and I've attended services in this church. Although I'm not officially a Quaker, I think I share many of their principles. Now, to tell you a little bit more about this project, The Dartmouth History and Art Society was authorized by the Dartmouth Monthly Meeting to photograph or digitize all of the original records that they have been responsible for keeping. They're in large journals, handwritten, and they're very valuable and very, very fragile. And with their authorization, we photographed every page, and it's over 3,000 images, over 6,000 pages of material that goes back to the 17th century, the 1600s. Men's meeting minutes, women's meeting minutes, removals, a whole variety of classes of records. And those photographed records, all images, are available on our website, and you can find them at the portal Contents. Contents is where most of the meat of our website is. Most of the stuff is under Contents. And the subportal of Contents called Dartmouth Friends Monthly Meeting Records is where you'll find copies. And if you want to try to read them, you'll find that some of the clerks who wrote the minutes wrote very clearly, and they're very easy to transcribe. Others, not so clearly. And so part of the challenge is to read what they wrote. As the old saying goes, I can read reading, but I can't read writing, especially when it's wrote rotten. But it's not all wrote rotten. Some of it's not too bad, and we can read it. A full description of this project will be handed out to you later on. It's a 3-page description written by me and another author, and it gives you much more detail about the project and the plans and so forth. This is a photograph of a minute in the meeting in 1699, you'll notice. And this is the minute where Peleg Slocum, notice Peleg Slocum up there in the upper left, is discussed at his house. This is where they met in 1699, Peleg Slocum's house. And they voted to spend some money to buy a journal in which to record births, marriages, and deaths of friends. And it was one of those journals that we've among many others, that we photographed. So I would like the steering committee members who are here to please stand so we can introduce them, because they're the people responsible for making all this happen. Dan Socia, Marion Ryle, Sally Aldrich, and Richard Gifford. They don't look too tired yet, but wait till we get finished with this project. It's really we've got lots and lots of work. Okay, thank you. That's number one. The second good news is we're announcing that we have as a collaborator a woman named Jane Fletcher Fisk, who is one of the 50 fellows of the American Society of Genealogists. A fellow of the American Society of Genealogists is named for life. It's an honorary assignment. There's only 50 in the world, and they have to qualify by having published high quality, large numbers of genealogical and historical publications. And Jane Fisk is a person who formerly was the editor for 15 years. She was the editor of the Register, which is the journal of the New England Historic Genealogical Society. And if you haven't seen that journal, you may not be into genealogy, but I can assure you it's the oldest of the journals and the most highly revered of the journals. She's also, among many other things, formatted, edited, and indexed several of what they call the silver books in the Mayflower Society collection of books published about the Mayflower passengers and all of their offspring and their families, the key families. one of her first contributions to our project was to co-author with me, gotta move that. Oh, anyway, it's legible, right? Was to co-author with me the 3-page project description, which we're going to be handing out after the meeting is over. And you'll see that she improved what I wrote. She basically edited what I wrote, made a major improvement to it. This is included in the press packet also for the media people that are here. Announcement number 3, we also, in that press packet, have a brief biography of Jane. It's attached to the handout that we have for the general audience. Announcement number 3, today we are kicking off a formal campaign to recruit volunteers and to raise funds to support the project. I'm very happy to do that. We already have a few volunteers who signed up, and of course, one of the key points why we need to do this is a very major project. We have a budget over $40,000 in the planned work we're going to do, and we have over 6,000 pages to decipher and to transcribe. That's if you think of 6,000 pages, that's a library. That's a big collection. So we're going to need help. We're going to be hiring professional transcribers as part of the help. That's where we're going to spend quite some of the money. But we also will need volunteers to do various tasks, such as helping us administer, to review and quality check the transcriptions and make sure we have a good product when we finish. And one of the, I actually have a slide here to explain some of that. And this takes me to the next phase of the presentation is going to be the 4th good news, which is that you can do the volunteering, by the way, on the website. There's a place to sign up. And announcement number 4 is that not only are we announcing the kickoff for the fundraising and volunteer, we already have some volunteers, but we already have 2 very significant gifts before the kickoff. And one of these gifts is what we call an in-kind gift, and that's a gift of I didn't bring the brochure like a dummy, but we have a 6-panel glossy folded brochure, very professionally done, that's been donated to us by the Dartmouth Friends of the Elderly. And Maria Connor is the president, and I'd like Maria to please stand and say hello, take a bow. We're very grateful for that gift. And that gift is a classy thing, and we'll be making those available. I did not think to bring enough to put in the packets this afternoon, but we'll make them available. And they'll be available on the website as well as here's one here, I can show it. It's a really beautiful job, done by a local firm. Pictures, etc. You can pass that around. And the second gift, there's a picture of the brochure on one side. You notice it folds up, so there's 6 panels, and it's a really lovely job. The second gift is a gift of funds. And this is really much needed, and we're very grateful for it, and we will use it wisely, we believe. And it's a gift from the Dartmouth monthly meeting at Smith Neck. And this is the letter that they sent us. And we have a copy of the letter that is also available on the website that you can see. And the letter essentially says that they're grateful for the work we've already done, and they want to support our work in disseminating the history of Dartmouth and preserving the history of Dartmouth. And we have, representing Smith Neck, we have Ms. Mosher and Carol Cannon and Russell Cornell. Is Deborah Reed here? No Deborah Reed. And Pam, I know, is a former pastor there. So if you'll stand and be recognized, we are really grateful for this gift. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, this ends the presentation. I'm going to turn this back to our moderator so we can have a question and answer period. 10 minutes, limit 10 minutes. And so my committee can help me answer questions if we get many questions.
So if folks have questions, I can come over and give you the mic. Mr. Robert?
You said this database will be completely indexed later on.
It will be.
Will it be searchable too for genealogists and other researchers?
I didn't quite get that.
So will it be a searchable index for?
Yeah, searchable index.
Yes.
That's great. It's going to be a great help for researchers.
All of the transcriptions will be in a PDF file, and each volume will be in a single PDF file, so that they will be searchable by any word in that PDF file. And then concurrently, we'll be actually developing some indexes which will make that a little shorter, make the search a little easier. But that'll be a follow-up activity.
One thing we didn't make very clear, we're going to begin by taking a small bite of all records, and that will be a group called the removals, which has to do with people leaving New Bedford to go elsewhere. It has very rich genealogical information. We think we may end up with that section in its own book with an index, just like standard reference genealogical books that, like the Mayflower puts out.
I knew that look on Pam's face that she had a question.
Well, now the Quaker archives in all of New England are from the UMass and UMass Amherst. So I know that you've been connected with them, and they know that this work is going on. Is that so at the Quaker archives?
We worked with Robert Cox,
Yes.
who manages those, and we sent him photographs. And we've actually had an online meeting with him regarding what we're doing. And he verified the fact that these records are not available in his archives and that they've been lost. In fact, the history of these records is that they were at the Whaling Museum, and the local meeting was unhappy with leaving them there because apparently they weren't doing very much with them. And we brought them back to Dartmouth, and they were in Dartmouth, but not copied yet, not preserved with the photographs. So we preserved them. So that's kind of the history of that. Thank you.
Do you want to speak into the microphone? Tell us what to say.
Okay, I was very happy that the records are going to be taken care of because, like you said, they were at the Whaling Museum, and at one time they talked about putting them over in Providence, and then they ended up in a drawer, a file cabinet in the office, as we all worried that the building would stay intact, and we're very happy to do this.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes to take some pictures with, we'd like to, we're doing this,
I'm sorry. First, great effort here.
as a matter of fact, this is already out of date. We got another check in today for $200, so it's up another $200. And would the people from Smith Neck come up? All the people in Smith Neck, we're gonna transfer the check, and the people from the committee, steering committee, we'd like to have a